These following activities would be for grade 5. Like I mentioned earlier, the objective would be PS14, plan and carry out an investigation to determine whether changes to matter result in chemical changes, and then they're going to use observations and data to support their conclusions. This would be a lot of measuring and graphing, data, observation, things of those nature. Okay, so one of my 4 activities would be students using like an apple browning like color sheet chart as they kind of progress, as the days go on, they color in what they're noticing, the changes for each day for the browning. So this would be an art and science integration. It would be like a color scale. So students would, like I said, visually see the change on paper and interact with it that way while they see it happening each day with progress. So a different way to kind of collect their data. Activity 2 would be to explore the browning experiment. So students would test different solutions. So maybe each group could agree on different solutions. So my 6 were the sugar, baking soda, vinegar, etc. But in this experiment, we can have there's so many different kinds of solutions that students could determine. I think that'd be the fun creative process where they can decide what it is, solutions that they want to test. Then the third would be to explain and discuss the data. So based off, kind of like what I did, right? To kind of further with that ELA integration, students would do like an oxidization match test. So at some point it could be a pre-activity to kind of see what students think with the terms and match the apple browning color with what they think. So for example, their hypothesis would be they think that the sugar will brown the most, so they would connect the brownest apple with the sugar on the worksheet and let that kind of generate their hypothesis and thinking prior to the activity. This one was probably my favorite one. I think it'd be kind of cool to have and post up around the class, but one of the activities could be after it's all said and done, we take pictures of our apples and order them, so we can do like a gradient. We can either do like a class gradient or individual gradient where the students will take their apples and line them up on the paper, whether it's from most brown to least brown or least brown to most brown. And take a picture and just kind of see the gradient and then explain, make a little story, get creative with it. If students wanted to do something in black and white, or kind of get creative with like the photo editing as well, it would allow them to do that. So that would be kind of fun. The way that this is a hands-on activity is that it requires some materials like cutting the apples, most likely with like plastic knives, because we're at school. It might be more safe that way for students. And if they need help, I can have the real knife and cut it for them, or have pre-sliced apples as well. The baking soda, the water, the salt, the sugar, the vinegar, all those things, kind of like I think it would be fun for the students to like pour it themselves and get used to the measuring, to be responsible for the amounts that they put in their experiment. Probably like gloves so their hands don't get dirty as much, and just things to label with. Overall, I would assess students with the observation of their projects in the classroom, and then I would take a look at their notes, their science notes for this. It would be in a notebook, all the things together, and seeing what they do with it and grading it on that. And then also the rubric that the students would be using to fulfill their activity. There will be a rubric required as well. And finally, their exit ticket would be something to like claim their evidence with reasoning. So kind of finalizing what they've done with some critical thinking skills. Their claim would be what causes the apple to brown after it's cut, which we would learn using the vocabulary and all that. what is their evidence? So which apple slice changed the least during the experiment? And they would talk about that, and then the reasoning. So learning about oxidation, what is the reasoning behind why their answer is what their answer is, and that would be their exit ticket. And then I could see one by one, seeing, you know, do students really grasp the concept of this experiment in class together. So for the Apple Browning color chart, which would be an art and science integration, the standard for the ELA would be W52, write informative explanatory text to describe scientific observations, and SL51, engage effectively in collaborative discussions, as well as the visual art VACR215A, experiment with a material to create art that communicates the idea. For the oxidation game, where you like match them, it would be science and literary reasoning. For the integration, so for the ELA integration, it would be RI 5.4, determine the meaning of domain-specific science vocabulary, which would be the like oxidation terms and utilizing that. And then SL 5.1, so to participate in collaborative conversations using their evidence. So discussing with their peers and stuff, and with me, to see like what makes most sense to match. And remember, this is like prior to doing the actual activity. And then finally, for the pictures where they do the gradient of the apples, this would be science, tech, and ELA integration. So for the ELA, I've got W 5.8, recall relevant information to summarize observations, and then SL 5.4 to report on a topic using appropriate facts and details.